Escape the 9-to-5. Proven strategies to break free. How to escape the salaried life in this country. People struggle to make ends meet. According to a recent Charles Schwab survey, 59% of American adults live paycheck to paycheck. It's not an exaggeration to say that living paycheck to paycheck is considered an unpleasant lifestyle. There's no other way to put it. In a world full of opportunities and considered the richest country in the world, living paycheck to paycheck means selling yourself short. If you appreciate the video you watch and want to help us continue creating interesting content, we kindly ask you to consider the idea of subscribing to our channel and leaving us a donation to support us. Thanks to your support, we will be able to continue improving and offering you new insights. You can do it here below, through the appropriate buttons, subscribe, and thanks. I remember many times in the past I used the last money in my wallet to pay off the debt from the previous month, and despair silently crept in, making me anxious and stressed about how I would get through the new month. Many people went home, ate what they had, and drank something before going to bed. The next day, the next month, the next year, they repeat the same thing. This lifestyle leads to a cycle where working to pay off debts does not increase savings, and people cannot even afford to invest in retirement plans. An enemy of financial freedom, a life of pretense, can have serious consequences. It is not a sustainable economic plan. Economic insecurity threatens mental health. In fact, health experts warn that constant money stress undermines a person's sense of self-esteem and personal importance, a pattern of thinking that can lead to clinical depression and even suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Living with little money can put people at risk of accumulating debt. Paying off debts not only impoverishes limited income, but also damages credit. The more debt you have, the more likely you are to miss payments, which can seriously damage your credit rating. Additionally, you will not be able to cope with unexpected expenses. For example, my car might break down, my house might collapse, or I might get injured. And then, I know many people who live paycheck to paycheck without realizing it, and a few months later they ask for a loan or ask me or other friends for financial help because they have earned enough money to cover the daily needs and a little extra here and there. But they don't realize they have a financial self-management problem. If you recognize yourself in the scenario described above and are tired of living like this, in today's video you will find some practical tips that will help you get out of this daily routine. Method number 1. Start doing side things that give immediate results. We live in a digital world full of activities and online platforms. Many people want to get something in some way and as soon as possible. Therefore, one of the best ways to earn a few bucks and financial freedom in the long run is to start a side business outside of your job. To be financially stable, people need to find a way to create other sources of income. It is said that the average millionaire has 7 sources of income, but you don't have to be a millionaire to have multiple sources of income. If you can find a way to earn a few extra dollars here and there, it's always better than doing nothing. It's not a bad thing to decide to focus on your career and wait to start earning a 6-figure salary, but it will definitely take time and you risk being fired if things go wrong in the future. Some of my friends have earned hundreds or even thousands of dollars through digital platforms like YouTube, Fiverr, and Shutterstock. I also know people who have earned thousands of more dollars selling photos on Shutterstock, so it's definitely possible to make extra money online. There are many digital freelance markets and easy side jobs to find, such as copywriting, editing and freelance writing, web design, graphics, social media management, and virtual secretarial work. Do some research and you will surely find something that interests you. Method number 2. Budget savings as a priority. We all know that we need to keep expenses under control. One of the best ways to do this is to live within a budget. But even if you might think it's obvious, not everyone thinks so. According to statistics on US consumer debt and demographics, the average American family currently has over $137,000 in debt. Although much of this debt is of a reputational nature, mortgages, a significant portion of this debt is due to lifestyle inflation. People somehow want to spend money they don't have, but we'll talk more about that later. So one of the things you can do to get out of this lifestyle is to take control of where your money is going and set some aside. Create a detailed budget that accounts for exactly every single dollar spent. Budget for food, rent, utilities, transportation, and entertainment expenses. Then, set a savings budget. Even if the initial savings amount seems too low, start anyway. Method number 3, reduce expenses. This method goes hand in hand with the previous advice. When it comes to making smart money decisions and the ultimate goal of living a financially free lifestyle, reducing expenses may seem contradictory, but it's actually one of the first and most important things to do. Reducing expenses means cutting back on items or areas where you're recklessly spending your hard-earned money. Spending all the money you earn, as my friend did, is what got you into this mess. So you need to be very disciplined in this regard and stick to your budget. You've already heard the saying, cutting your losses is beneficial. The same can be said for money. So the first thing to do is identify the areas where you are recklessly spending and reduce them. One of the best ways to do this is to keep track of expenses. Yes, it's easier said than done. However, if you have the patience to keep track of your expenses for about a month, you should be able to identify the areas where you are losing money and make some changes or plug some holes to significantly reduce your expenses. One of the most important ways to save is to make effective and efficient lifestyle changes, such as eating out less, choosing a more economical car, or opting for more affordable rent. These changes will undoubtedly allow you to save. The more you reduce expenses, the sooner you can free yourself from the salaried life. You may not be able to make a big lifestyle change right away, but you can start with small things. Look for small items in your budget that you can cut. You can save on groceries, use coupons, or reduce entertainment, such as reading books to increase your mental skills. Method 4. Don't be in debt to anyone and love them. As I said before, people love to spend money they don't have. This is why many people have financial difficulties. If you continue to accumulate debt, it's easy to end up in a big financial mess. And unfortunately, it becomes increasingly difficult to get out of paid work. Debt is one of those tools that, if used correctly, can enrich. But unfortunately, not many know how to use it correctly. So the safest thing to do is avoid it as much as possible. Every time you pay off a debt, you pay interest on the money you could have saved. All the interest, fees, and contracts applied by banks eat up many people's money. Getting out of debt is the most important step for a financially stress-free life. Unfortunately, many people are unable to control their desires, which unfortunately leads to this mess. Method number 5, understand your spending habits. In addition to cutting expenses, you need to take a step back and analyze your spending habits. It's clear that in order to have full control over expenses, you need to understand where the money is going. Once you know where your money is going, you can control it. In undertaking this investigative mission, as mentioned earlier, you may discover that the losses you were previously unaware of are eating up your money. But now that you know where the money is going, you can plug the holes. It may seem like a good thing, but you can only do it if you keep track of your expenses. Method number 6. Don't compare yourself to what friends and relatives have. Many people struggle with this problem, including me. We all live in a very materialistic society. Everyone is interested in what others think of them. What we wear, what we drive, where we live, what we eat or who we date. I used to care a lot about what others thought of me, the clothes and shoes I wore, the phone and watch I carried, the people I talked to, the money I spent. There were many other useless things that, looking back, seemed completely ridiculous. Of course, now I am much older and wiser and somehow I have overcome it. I realized that I don't care what others think and I was able to overcome this social pressure with grace, but I know that many people still struggle with it. What I like to think is that if you are personally satisfied with the way you live your life, for example, you should look at what you wear, where you live, the car you drive, and so on. Because one or two people may criticize you, but I've noticed that most people have too many personal problems and don't really care about you. Moreover, getting into debt just to receive some personal compliments is not, in my opinion, worth the stress of having to pay it back. Limit credit card use. This is a sensitive topic. Because countless people use credit cards to buy anything, from ordinary things to life emergencies. I know many people who buy almost everything with a credit card and I also have friends who do it. When they go somewhere and want to buy something, the first thing they do is take out the credit card and swipe it. It's easy, convenient, and fun, but as convenient as credit cards are, many don't realize that they are paying interest on these purchases. If they want to avoid paid work, they need to limit their credit card use. According to Experian's 2019 Consumer Credit Survey, Americans have an average credit card debt of $6,194. This is an enormous burden that you don't want to carry with you. The general rule for credit cards is to use them only in emergencies. Method number 8. Automate savings. This is the last method, but saving should never be the last thing to do. On the contrary, it is one of the first, if not the first thing to do after the money is deposited into the account. As soon as you receive your salary, you should deposit at least 10% of it into a high-yield savings account. It is highly recommended to automate this process so that 10% is automatically transferred to the savings account as soon as you receive your salary. If you want to take it a step further, you can buy and hold index funds or invest in stocks and bonds. Share your personal experience on today's topic with us. Write it in the comments and ask us any questions you may have. We will be happy to answer. Leave a comment so that we can perfect our creations. We will be happy with your simple like, but the most important thing is not to forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming videos.